The best competitions are about more than mere victory. They are about country, history, and heart. Because the places one comes from represent far more than one individual. From the valleys of the Golden State arises an undefeated Mexican-American warrior who proudly represented his heritage throughout each step of his extraordinary rise to become WBO and WBC world champion.
I love to do my talk with my fist. I don't win because I want to prove people wrong. I win because I believed in myself the whole time. I knew I was going to be victorious.
A land and an ocean away from the shores of Scotland, another of their generation's greatest has also never been defeated, while succeeding like no countryman before him to seize the WBA, Ring Magazine, and IBF world titles.
IBF, WBA, Ring Magazine, and the Muhammad Ali Trophy in 16 fights. It's almost unheard of.
Now, in one of boxing's foremost glamour divisions, a weight class that has given birth to some of the best the sport has ever known. Two unbeaten champions, ready for their collision course, and a seismic four-belt unification bout that is about homelands, destinies, and a quest to make sure their name will be the one history remembers. This is Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Ramirez versus Taylor. For thousands of years, the proud land of Scotland has been home to both royalty and ruins, a theme that resonates in Josh Taylor's chosen sport.
Where I grew up, down in Preston Pans, Raymond, there was no boxing gyms in the radius of about 20 miles. So nobody was really into boxing in my family, and boxing wasn't big in my family.
While today he is Scotland's most renowned fighter, Taylor's path was blazed by one of his nation's greatest before him, Ken Buchanan.
I first came across Ken Buchanan when I was about 16, 17. My very first coach was actually Kenny's son, and he told me his dad was Ken Buchanan, Scotland's only undisputed world champion, and I didn't know who he was when he mentioned it.
Scottish legend Ken Buchanan turned pro in 1965 and won his first 33 fights before seizing the undisputed lightweight title, ultimately accumulating an astonishing 61 career victories.
Kenny used to come in when I was a young whippersnapper in the bags and see me hitting the bags and sparring and stuff, and give me advice about how to punch and do this and how to live and how to train, and then he'd come away and say, "You're going to be world champion one day." You know, I've been a huge fan of him since.
Josh Taylor's own path to greatness has in many ways mirrored his mentors, with his punishing style quickly outmatching his earliest opponents. With early stoppages in 12 of his first 14 straight victories, to earn a shot at the IBF light welterweight title in May 2019 against Ivan the Beast Baranchik.
I always knew I was going to be world champion, and when I done it, you know, it was like mission accomplished. There's one ticked off. So now, I've set new goals, and now is to become undisputed world champion.
Just 5 months later, Taylor would have that chance against a fellow highly touted and undefeated fighter, Regis Prograis.
I was supremely confident going into that fight. I had zero nerves, just pure confidence.
This is good stuff from Taylor.
I knew I was more compact and faster and stronger than him, so I knew that's where I was going to win the fight.
Exchanging level, this is fantastic. Taylor being
and now the unified, the fighting pride of Scotland,
when I won the title against Progress, unified the division, Kenny, he come down to my parents' house after the fight and come to see me, and we had a cup of tea and a bit to eat, and showed him his belts, and he says, "You proved me right, son. I'm glad you proved me right."
Over 5,000 miles away, a rural Golden State farming town has given rise to an Olympian and Josh Taylor's highest-ranked competition in one of boxing's foremost divisions. Yet, for Jose Ramirez, his path to boxing stardom almost ended before it even began.
Well, guys, so this is the gym where I got started. The gym opened up in 1999. It was a new thing in the community. I was at the time playing baseball and soccer. And my dad said, "You know what? Jose has too much energy. I want him to do something that it could be all year long." So I came. I was about 20 minutes late. Everyone was inside the ring, following the instructions. And I walked outside to put some gloves on, and I just threw the most wild punch, and I completely missed and kind of just hit me right in the face. So this is the back that kind of, made me quit the first time, and I just left. I was so embarrassed that I left, and I never been in that position where I wasn't good at the sport. I would get the MVPs. I'll be the first one to get chosen, or I was the captain, in PE and stuff like that. But I wasn't considered being a fun guy to be around, So I was like, I want to show that part of me. I want to go meet friends. If you had a locker room in that room, then you were one of the best. When you had the new beginners come in and they used to see that you had a locker room there, it's like, okay, you're like one of the captains. When I went to the gym, I noticed I was behind, so I forgot why I went in there. I went in there to make friends, to socialize more. I forgot about that. I wanted to compete. And I fought 6 weeks from the second time I walked in. I fought my first amateur, and I won my first amateur fight, came back with that big trophy. It was a great feeling, to be in the middle and the whole attention was on you and your hand raised. And after that, I felt like, man, the sport could really do a lot for me.
As his pro career began, Ramirez teamed up with one of boxing's most successful all-time trainers, Freddie Roach, before switching to another legend, Robert Garcia.
Robert saw me in the amateurs fight, and he was really interested for me to give him a chance, or for him to take me in.
In his professional debut,
when he turned pro, he decided, Freddie Roach was the trainer of his choice, and Freddie Roach is probably the best trainer in the last 20, 30 years.
At the time, the fighters that Freddie would train, they would come once a year, and I was still being very active. I was trying to be very active.
He would come to my gym in Oxnard, get some sparring. He knew I always had great sparring for him. So he told me, I want to train here, but this title fight, I owe it to Freddie Roach.
Boxing is a very lonely sport, as we all know. You need that motivation, that sincere motivation that you feel like you got a family, not just coaches, but family. And I think I found that here. I asked Big G to be a part of this team for this fight. You see him here working with Robert, advising me, and he knows his stuff.
We're here together. If we make it together. If we lose, we're gonna lose together.
I feel like I have a whole team that really believes in me. They deserve for me to give them my best, and I fight that way.
From humble beginnings, in less than 6 years as a pro boxer, Josh Taylor has built not just an undefeated record of 17 wins to 0 losses, but a legacy inside and outside the sport.
I hadn't really had time to reflect on my career and my achievements until the start of this corona, and I had just bought a new house with my fiancée as well, and we hadn't had any furniture yet, but there was all these belts sitting there. We were sitting on a couple of bean bags, and just sitting there and I'm going, you've done okay, you've done all right. And that's when I started sort of realising what I've achieved in the sport, and I'm very proud of what I've done.
Taylor has long blazed his own path, including becoming a junior Taekwondo champion and winning a boxing silver medal at the 2010 Commonwealth Games.
Can you pass me a spoon, please?
Yet it was at those same games that he made a connection that would make an even more lasting impact.
A wee spoon?
Where are they?
They're right there.
Well, we first met in 2010, so just before the Commonwealth Games in Delhi 2010, I'd just been selected to go, and I was going out to sort of celebrate with a few of my pals and stuff, and my pal at the time was saying, oh, my cousin's coming out.
Josh came over. I hear that you fancy me, I hear that you want to get into me and everything like that. And I turned around and I'm like, who the are you? Like that. And that was it.
Just about 11 years ago, you know, so 10 years of torture. When I first met her, she didn't know I was a boxer. I never told her about my boxing or anything like that until a good month later or something. You know, we'd been speaking and sort of seeing for a while, and then she come into my house and she saw the trophies that was in my house and medals and stuff like that, and then that's when I told her about my boxing. Obviously I told her my dreams that I wanted to be world champion, and I was away doing this and doing that, and she believed in my dream as well and supported me, so she's been there the whole time really.
And it's quite nice to be able to celebrate, obviously, after every fight that he has, and when he won boys belts and he won the WBSS tournament. So it's good to be able to say, you know what, we've done it from the very beginning, and now you're here. It's really proud.
An ocean and a nation to the west, Jose Ramirez works from sundown to sunup.
Slow's not an option. Push hard, go!
On paper, this could be the most challenging fight in my career, and you have to be physically prepared. So I'm getting ready for that.
Go!
When I look at Mexican fighters, you look at two things. One is, they're always in good shape.
Knees up, grind up that hill, let's go!
They will fight from the opening bell to the last bell.
Go, Jose, grind!
And they hit the body very hard. So to be a Mexican fighter, you have to not just be prepared conditionally, but you also have to be prepared mentally to know that most likely you're gonna be in the deep waters when you face a Mexican warrior.
In spite of a streak of 26 straight victories to start his career to Taylor's 17, Ramirez is still ranked by many as second in his division, a fact that adds fuel to his fire.
I know it doesn't matter what people think. I know it doesn't matter where people rank me in the top pound for pound list. I do think about why, you know, people don't really give me the credit, you know, when I made it this far. When people have a little doubt, I continue winning. When people say, you know, we'll see how he does, I continue winning. And I continue winning. And I continue winning. So everything that I have, I've earned it right. You know, I've earned it the right way, by my actions, by my fist.
Here we go. WBC 140-pound world title fight.
One thing Jose has over mostly everybody in boxing, not only the guys that he's fought, he always has that little extra.
Offensive surge here from Ramirez. Oh! And he gets him with a big right hand!
If it's power, he's gonna find a way to give it that extra power.
He's in trouble. Real trouble. Ramirez puts him down.
If it's condition, if it's the 12th round and he's going through a war, he's gonna find that push to dominate his opponent.
You think Ramirez wants it?
If it's hard, he beats his opponents because of that. There's fighters out there that might be more talented than him, but his mind, his heart, his condition is always gonna be above his opponent.
I like to continue winning. And some people do it to prove people wrong, and for me, that's just the extra, that's the bonus.
¿Qué más te puede ganar? Fuerza, él es fuerte, tú también. Si es valiente, tú eres más que él.
I know what I could do. That's what really matters,
Si él aguanta, tú aguantas más. En nada nos va a vencer.
For Josh Taylor, training has often meant a county just to the northeast of Great Britain's most famed city. And here, recent changes, including to his trainer, continue to have major ramifications for this training camp.
It was just, I wasn't happy with what I was doing. Shane was a good coach, and Barry was a good manager in terms of boxing wise. Boxing team, they were brilliant, but everything else, I just wasn't happy with what was going on. I just wasn't happy, so I don't really want to talk about it too much. The past is the past. I've made my decision, I've moved.
I think he went and spoke to a few different coaches and had a bit of time with a few different coaches, because it was a big decision for him when he'd achieved what he'd achieved in such a short space of time to then make a change. Once Josh signed with MTK, they contacted me about Josh wanting to come over and spend some time with me. I was working with Tyson Fury and Billy Joe Saunders at the time, and then Josh did come over, and we decided that this is where he wanted to be.
What's up, mate?
Shabazz coming back.
Nah, I don't mind it up there. Some people don't like it, but I think it's all right. Easy to get about and that, compared to London.
Well, this is my second full camp with Ben, so we're familiar with each other now. We know how each other works, and we know what makes each other tick and what buttons to press. So, yeah, we're a lot more calm and relaxed, but when we come in the gym, he's the boss.
Taylor's first collaboration with Tyson Fury's former trainer, Ben Davison, was for his last opponent, a collaboration that quickly paid dividends inside the ring.
In his last fight, it was a one-round blowout. People blamed that on the opponent, but it was actually all due to the preparation, and obviously his skill set himself as well.
And that preparation was ridiculously long because it was cancelled 4 times.
He was in camp for about 6 months for that fight.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the relationship works, because there's that respect there. And I think he's one of the best coaches in the world for sure.
Good, and again. Good, extend. Good.
Can I improve Josh? Certainly. There's one thing that I've said in the first press conferences and interviews that I did when the news came out that I was working with Josh was, I don't see a ceiling on his potential. I just believe that he's very well-rounded and he's got that something special about him.
1, 2, little delay, hook body. Boom! Good.
The way he breaks it down and it explains the simplest things, the very basics, and starts with building the blocks and the basics again, and so clearly.
A little bit of rocking, a little bit of top. Good, as you're moving. Beautiful, good.
It's just really good to work with someone with that class and the ability to break things down.
Everybody's confident in camp, but the most important thing is realistic. This is a tough fight, and it needs to be looked at and treated and prepared for like a tough fight, and that's what we're doing.
There will be times in the fight where it's going to be hard and it's going to be a standoff firefight, because his style is all action. He comes to fight, he leaves it all in the ring, he breaks down his opponents. But he's never faced Josh Taylor. He's never faced the likes of me.
You load him with the hips, explode.
I've always trained like the underdog. Like, this is my biggest fight in my career. Not one training camp lightly. I don't take not one fighter lightly. I always train with that mentality that I want to do this for myself and for my family. That alone keeps me very, very motivated. After every win, I'm not surprised. I don't feel surprised. I feel like that's what I was supposed to do. Taylor has done well in his previous fights because the guys give him the distance and they get distracted and give Taylor the control. But Josh has never faced a guy like Jose Ramirez. I can't say what's gonna work for me until it happens, and he cannot say or he cannot think what's gonna work for him. But at the end of the day, I think this fight, the mental part of the fight is gonna make us the winner.
We still have 8 weeks before the fight, and he's already doing stuff that I wasn't expecting. He's already pushing hard on his sparring partners. He's already pushing hard on every workout that we do. He's so focused and sure that he's gonna make it. Ain't nothing gonna stop him, you know.
One day at a time, you know. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do it right. My goal is to put Taylor in a position he's never been in. Test him to the limits he's never been before, you know? The personal opinions from the professionals, from the fans, it don't matter no more, you know? It's not gonna help him. It's not gonna help me. It's not gonna help him. You know, it's time to work.
Time. Good job. Good job.
Prize fighting. 2 words loaded with history and context. Yet at the heart of the phrase is a question. What prize does one fight for?
You guys ready? Tiempo!
For an undefeated Mexican-American warrior, 26 consecutive victories represent how a kid from farming valleys can rise to be a champion for all. For a never-beaten Scottish powerhouse, 17 straight wins means that the land where he comes from will be overshadowed no longer.
You know, it's very rare when you see 2 Olympians, 2 undefeated, unified world champions, you know, earn the way to this level. The fact that I'll be the first Mexican-American to be undisputed world champion, and for him to be the first Scottish to be undisputed world champion, that makes it even more dangerous.
I've always believed I'm number 1 in the division. Everybody else is starting to say it now as well.
I'm ready to show the world who Jose Ramirez really is.
It's about more than merely an opponent. It's about pride for family and country, and becoming the first to unify not just a division, but a nation, with each of the sport's greatest belts. On May 22nd, live on ESPN, in the fight capital of the world, it will be country versus country, undefeated versus undefeated, champion versus champion, and a chance to etch their name into their nation's history books like no one before.